Hey guys, welcome to the Out Jeeping YouTube channel. My name's Austin, and today's video we're going to be working on my 2016 Ram 1500. We're going to be replacing the high beam, low beam, and fog lights with LED bulbs that I got from Boslla Bulbs. So let's get started. Alright, so once again, this is my 2016 Ram 1500 Bighorn, and the lights are on these. They came factory with just some halogen bulbs, and this headlight housing design requires actually two different bulbs in it. We got a separate bulb for the high beam and a separate bulb for the low beam. Other Rams, you might just have a single bulb for both high and low beam, and there's other housings that have the factory LED projector lights, and that's going to be different. So the install process today, we're going to be replacing both the upper and lower headlights, and we're also going to be replacing the fog lights down here. So as you can see with the factory halogen bulbs, they are pretty dim. They're not as bright as an LED on the highways. And when we install our bulbs today, the light that's actually on top of the housing, that's going to be our low beam, and down here this is going to be our high beam. So let's go take a look at the new bulbs we got to replace. Alright, so these are the lights that we're going to be replacing our old ones with today. This type of model LED that Boslla sells, it's going to be the B1 Bullet series, so this isn't the color changing ones, but these are just the solid 6500K LED lights that they offer. You might notice that we got 3 sets of lights, and we also have 6 sets of load resistors, and you basically need these on these newer cars because they have a CAN bus system, meaning that if you have a headlight burns out, your system's going to recognize that and flash a code on your dash saying that you have a headlight out. So since LEDs actually take less power than a traditional halogen will, if you don't put in a load resistor, it's going to recognize and might think that your light is actually out. So by putting in a load resistor, it's basically going to trick the computer and basically saying that your LEDs are still working. If you go to the Boslla website, they offer these load resistors. You can add them to cart. So I got a load resistor for each light that we're going to be replacing today. And it's nice with these because they're pretty much plug and play. You plug into the old harness and then plug it straight into the new bulb. So it doesn't get any simpler than that. Now for our low beam, it's going to be an H11 size bulb. Our high beam is going to be a 9005, and our fog light is going to be a 9006. They pretty much look identical. In fact, the plugins for the high beam and the fog lights are actually exactly the same, but the low beam is slightly different. So these load resistors can be interchangeable. So I'm just going to do a quick unboxing and show you what all comes inside these LED kits. So we got some stickers, we got a instructions manual, and then we got the 2 bulbs that are in right here. And with these bulbs, it's pretty nice. They got some aluminum heatsink on the back, and they got a built-in fan back here, so that way these guys can't overheat. We got our plug right here that's going to plug into our load resistor, and then our load resistor is going to plug into the main truck harness. So let's get started on installing these lights. I'm going to start off with the low beam and high beam first. So we have to remove a few things before we can just replace them. So let's get started. Alright, so to replace the bulbs in the headlight housing, it's going to be a little bit more involved. We can't just pop the hood and access it from the back. We actually have to pop the hood, remove the front grille, and unclip the headlight housing, pull out the housing a little bit, and then we should be able to access our bulbs. Alright, so once we're inside the engine bay here, next thing we have to do is remove this plastic cover that's up here, and it's held in by those plastic Christmas tree kind of hooks. If you have a trim panel removal tool, this will be ideal for it, but I don't. You can get away with a screwdriver or even with a claw hammer. Just be careful, you don't want to break them. There's going to be a total of 6 of them, so we got 3 on this side, 1 in the corner, 1 here, 2 in the middle, and then another 2 over here. Alright, so once all of our clips are out, we can remove this panel. So now the next thing we got to do is unbolt the grille from the front core support over here. So we got a total of 4 10mm bolts, 2 on this side and 2 on this side. So I'm going to zip them off with the impact. Alright, so now that our grille is loose from the top, we basically just have to pull it out. It's clipped in the rest of the way. This side is already clipped out. And then we just remove it. Alright, so we're going to start by removing the driver's side headlight housing first, and on the front side we just have two 10mm bolts holding it in, one up here and one down here. And on the back side we have a clip which we'll have to access through the wheel well. Basically just pop in a clip out, and then we should be able to pop this whole headlight out. So now over here on the driver's side front wheel well, we can see in the wheel well we actually have a little panel that's removable, and it's just held in by another one of those plastic clips. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and pop that out of place. You want to pop it from the base that it's on. It's kind of like an anchor that expands once it's all the way in. Oop. And that popped out of place. So now we can pull it out. Then there's going to be a base that's removable from it. And then this is still attached on the top. It's just going to swing out of the way so that way we can get our hand in here. So unfortunately I can't really get the camera in here to show you, but I will be able to show you the clip once we get the headlight out from the front. But basically there's a white clip in there, and we want to push it up, and it's going to release the headlight from the truck. So I'm just going to go in there, and you can feel it. It has a little tab kind of sticking out. It's kind of far in there. Then you just want to push it up, and then you'll be able to feel your headlight get loose on the front. So let's move to the front and finish removing it. Alright, so once we get that clip removed from the back side, we just got one more clip holding this in. And it's just a simple pop connector. So we got to pull out the headlight housing and it'll pop out of place. There we go. And so I'm going to take this headlight housing to the workbench to replace the LED lights. So I'm just going to take the electrical connectors and disconnect them from the headlight housing. So we just got two connectors, one for the turn signal that's in the back corner over here. So we got a little red safety clip, push it up, and then squeeze, and then it releases. And then we got another connector right here for high beam and low beam. And so for this one, you just got a gray clip you want to pull back, and then squeeze the connector, and then it separates. And then you might have a Christmas tree connector holding the harness in place on the back of the headlight. You just want to pop those off. Now we can remove the housing from the vehicle. So now looking at the back of the housing up here in the workbench, both of our bulbs are going to be located inside here, and our low beam is going to be up here in the top, and our high beam is going to be here at the bottom. So basically we just got these plastic caps to kind of seal it all together. So he's basically going to untwist it, and then we should be able to get access to our bulb. Pop it off like that. And then you can see inside here we have our bulb and our connector. So we're going to rotate that counterclockwise and unlock it from the position that it's in. Then we have our old bulb, and then we got a connector we're just going to pull back, and then we can remove it. So since we're doing the low beam, this is going to be our H11 bulb right here, and instead of just plugging it right in, we got to first plug in this load resistor. All these wires are going to be basically inside the housing over here, and there's nothing really to keep them in place, so I'm just basically going to zip tie this all together to the existing wiring harness right here, so that way it doesn't just jiggle around inside the headlight housing. So when we plug in our load resistor to the existing harness, you want to make sure you have the polarity right, because you can flip the plugs on this pretty easily. So coming out of here we got a black and gray wire and a white and blue. So black is always going to be our ground, so we're going to have that to black on the load resistor over here. So I'm just going to snap that into place. And then when we plug in our new bulb, same thing, they got little identification over here, so they got a plus and a minus, so plus is going to be positive, and we'll plug it in this way. Just like so. So now I'm just going to zip tie this up down in here, and then we can install our bulb and twist it into place. Alright, so now I'll take our harness and just kind of feed it back down in here. There should be plenty of room inside here to tuck this away. And now lastly, we'll orientate our LED bulb into the correct position. It only goes in one way with these tabs right here. So we got the bigger tab, and that's going to go up to the left. Make sure it's seated all the way in, and then rotate it clockwise till it locks in. Then we can take our plug, put it on the back side, line it up, and twist it back on. Now that's pretty much it for the low beams. Now we can do the same thing for the high beams. we just gotta unclip it. And these bulbs are gonna be, once again, 9005. So we got our 9005 load resistor. And the white and green wire, that's gonna be our positive, so we're gonna line up the polarity on that. Clip it in, and then clip in our bulb. And then once again, I'm just gonna zip tie this up so it's nice and neat. Alright, so I'll feed our harness in through the side here, and then we can clock our new bulb in into the little tabs and then rotate it clockwise. Then it's locked in. Then we'll take our cover, reattach it. Alright, so that's pretty much it for installing the LED lights in these housings. Now we're ready to reinstall the housing back onto the vehicle. So what I was explaining earlier as far as the white clip that's behind here that you have to access through the wheel well, this is it right here. Basically it's all the way up and it's in the unlock position, and if we push it down when we reinstall it, it's going to lock in like that. So basically when the headlight is still in, you come in from the back side, come in here, you'll feel this tab, push up, and then it's going to unlock and free the headlight. Okay, so now we'll first start off by plugging everything back in. We got our main harness right here for our high beam and low beam. That's going to go to the 3-pin connector over here. So we're going to clip that into place and then put the gray locking retaining clip, push that in, and that's going to lock that into place. And then in the back corner we got our turn signal, pop that in, and then lock our red clip in as well. Then we got a couple anchors that go through these couple holes that are on the back side here. So that pops into that hole. And then we got another one over here that pops into this hole down there. And we got our white clip in the unlock mode, so we can put our headlight back into place. There's going to be one clip that we just had to push in. So line it up. Pop that first clip in just like that. Then we can go from the back side and get that white clip and pull it down, and then it'll lock in that white clip. There we go. Now we just need to put our two 10mm bolts back into place. The longer one's going to be over here on the bottom and the shorter one over here on the top. And then lastly, for the side, we can take our wheel well liner little access hole cover, push it back into place. We're going to take our anchor piece first, pop that into the backing, and then we'll take our little piece that goes in the center that expands it, push that in, and then that's all ready to go. Alright, so let's quick test them out and see how much brighter they are, make sure everything's working properly before we put everything else back together. Alright, so that is definitely a huge difference over stock, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the passenger side headlight. I'm not going to show that, but it's basically just going to be the same thing except mirror opposite. Alright, so all the LEDs for the headlights are in now. Now we can get ready to put the grille back in and get everything all buttoned up here. Alright, so now that we got our grille, we got a couple push pins on the back side here on either side, so we're going to correspond those with the holes and push them in first. And now we can bolt our grille in from the top with our 4 bolts. We got 2 coarse thread bolts right here. These are going to go on the outside into the plastic part. And then we got our smaller, finer thread, shorter bolts, and they're going to go up here into the metal core support. And then lastly, we got our plastic cover. Just line up the holes. I got all the clips still in the plastic cover right here. And then we just got to snap it back into place. Alright, so with the headlights all done, now we can move over to the fog lights. And as you can see right here, my housing is actually kind of loose, and this is actually a common problem on these 4th gen Rams, and the reason why it does is because the plastic housing that the LED fog lights are in and the plastic housing that the adjuster's in, they kind of wear on this one spot, and it's just plastic on plastic, and soon it just kind of wears out like that. But I may have to replace the bracket in the future, because every time I go over bumps you can definitely see the lights kind of jiggle on the road, so that's definitely annoying. But to replace these bulbs is pretty straightforward. We just have to get on the back and we can easily access the bulb, twist it out, and put the new one in. Alright, so looking at the back of the passenger side fog light, as you can see how loose it is. Right here is actually where it's plastic on plastic, and it just kind of wore that hole bigger, so that's why this is going to be jiggling around. But as far as removing the old bulb, it's over here, so all we have to do is undo the connector, just pull it back, rotate it counterclockwise, and pop it out. So I just unpopped this clip over here, so that way we can plug in our load resistor a little bit easier. So we got a black wire and a white wire with a red stripe. So the white wire is going to be our positive, so we're going to plug that in, and then correspond it to our new bulb. And then we can take our new bulb and put it into the housing and rotate it clockwise to lock it in. Alright, so I went and actually removed the whole entire fog light housing from the vehicle. That way I can properly kind of fix this jiggling issue. And from another YouTuber, a nice temporary fix is what you can actually do is just take a zip tie and kind of put it in this hole, and it'll take up that void that kind of wore away from over time. And as you can see, it's nice and solid. So I got that on this side as well as the side over here, so hopefully that should last a little bit longer. I'm definitely probably going to have to get new housings in the future, because for some reason where the adjuster is up here, it's actually cracked, so I actually had to put another zip tie in here to kind of hold it in place. But hopefully this will work for now. I got the bulb installed, and one thing to keep note once you get it installed is once you look inside here, you want to make sure that the bulb is either sideways or straight up and down. So as you can see, I can still kind of move it, even though it is latched in from the back side. I can move it left and right. For this one, you want to make sure it's nice and flat, just like that, so that way you get a nice even light pattern. And same for the headlights. The low beams are going to be straight up and down, and the high beams are going to be flat, just like this. So you just want to make sure once you install them, you have them orientated correctly. And if you're wondering how to remove this whole entire housing, it's pretty simple. Just undo the electrical connector, and we got three 10mm bolts, 2 on this side and 1 up here. So I'm going to go throw this back in the vehicle, and we'll get everything all zipped up into place, and then we should be done on this side, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I got the fog light housing all back into place, and everything is nice and solid. It doesn't jiggle around anymore, so it's nice and solid there. And then I got everything all plugged back in with our load resistor as well as our new LED bulb, and I got everything zipped up to the existing harness. That way it can't really rub on anything, and that way it's nicely secure. So I'm going to go and do the other side fog light. I'm not going to show that. It's once again going to be the exact same process, except it's going to be in mirror opposite. So I'll meet you guys and we'll test these out and see what they look like. Alright, so with the other side complete, we are finally done with the LED light installation. Don't mind the background noise, it's starting to rain right now, but we finally got all the LEDs installed, and man, are they bright. I also had to fix the housing on the driver's side here for the fog light. It was actually a lot worse than the passenger side. It was basically held on by one bolt. The other 2 tabs broke off on the fog light housing, so I just had to zip tie it up in a bunch of different ways, but as you can see, it's nice and solid now. I'll eventually have to replace those housings in the future, but it's going to work in the pinch with some zip ties. Alright, so that's going to be a wrap for today's installation video. Overall, I'm very happy with the product. These are definitely a lot brighter than the old halogen bulbs. So if you guys want to get some LED lights for your own vehicle, I got a link below so you guys can go check it out. But overall, it wasn't too hard to install these. A little bit more involved on these 4th gen Rams compared to a 3rd gen Ram. But I had the Boslla bulbs in my 3rd gen Ram, and I had it in there for over a year now, and I have had no issues. So if you guys liked this video and found it helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to the Outjeeping YouTube channel for more how-to videos. And if you guys want to help support the channel, I got some Outjeeping decals you guys can purchase on Etsy. I'll leave a link below on where you can find that. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.